Rocco Carrero is a comprehensive wealth advisor specializing in working with business owners, CEO, and entrepreneurs. He's a chartered retirement planning counselor, accredited portfolio manager advisor, and holds an MBA in banking and finance with over 20 years of experience. Rocco has appeared on Fox and NBC, and his financial insights have been featured in publications including the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Fortune, Wealth Management Magazine, and many other local and regional publications. Rocco is a member of the Columbus Citizens Foundation and has served on the board of directors of the American Heart Association, Southampton Business Alliance, East End Hospice, and West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center, and serves as the vice president of Integrated Medical Foundation. Rocco lives and works on Eastern Long Island, New York, with his wife Heather and their two children, Ella and Luca. And before we start the episode, a quick word from our sponsor, Deep Wealth and the Deep Wealth Mastery Program. Here's Bill, a graduate, who says the Deep Wealth Mastery Program has transformed the KPIs we're using to accelerate growth and profits. Or how about Emery, who says, and I love this, and I quote, the Deep Wealth Mastery Program helped me create the right mindset for both growing my business and later my future exit. I now know what questions to ask, what to do and not to do, which is priceless. The team and I have found dangerous skeletons and gaps that we're now addressing due to the Deep Wealth Program. Today, our actions have a massive ROI. Absolutely love that. And now, speaking of growth and adding value, check out what Bruce says. And I quote, as a business owner, I'm always looking for new programs, systems, CEO peer groups, and strategies to improve my business. Hands down, the Deep Wealth Mastery Program is the absolute best. I'm both growing my business and preparing for a future exit at the same time. It doesn't get any better. And I got to tell you, as I hear these testimonials, this is exactly why I do what I do. My mission, the team's mission here at Deep Wealth, is to literally change the social fabric of society, one business owner at a time and one liquidity event at a time. The Deep Wealth Mastery Program, it's the only one based on a 9-figure deal. And that deal, that was my deal. You know my story. I said no to a 7-figure offer. I created a system that we now call Deep Wealth Mastery, and that's exactly what helped myself and my business partners welcome from a different buyer, a different offer, a 9-figure deal. So if you're interested in growing your profits, preparing for a future liquidity event, whether that's 3 years away or 33 years away, and if you want to optimize your post-exit life, Deep Wealth Mastery is for you. Please email success@deepwealth.com. Again, that's success, SUCCESS, at deepwealth.com. We'll send you all the information about the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, otherwise known as the Scale for Ultimate Sales System. Better yet, why not hop on a complimentary strategy call? We'll see where you are at your business and what's standing between you and your financial independence and your dreams. So that's where you want to be. You want to be with other successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and founders just like you who are looking to create market disruptions. Whether you're a startup, whether you've been in business for 3 or 4 decades, whether you're manufacturing, whether you're high tech, SaaS, low tech, whatever the case may be, come on in and network with other business owners, with other businesses just like you, because they all want to lock in their financial freedom and enjoy both success and fulfillment. Again, the 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery Program, it has your name on it. All you need to do is take the next step. Please send an email to success@deepwealth.com. Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. Well, you heard it in the official introduction. We have a fellow entrepreneur, business owner, and overall really smart guy with an alphabet of letters after his name for all the designations that are there. Rocco, welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. An absolute pleasure to have you with us. And I'm always curious, Rocco, because there's always a story behind the story. So what's your story? What got you from where you were to where you are today?
Well, Jeffrey, thank you for having me. Yeah, so it's been an amazing journey. So 25 years in the world of wealth management, specializing in working with business owners, CEOs, and entrepreneurs. What really got me started was I've always been interested in business. My father had his own tailor shop in our town of Patchogue, Long Island, New York. And so I spent a lot of time in this tailor shop listening to my father talk to business professionals that he would do their suits and clothing. And so I've always had a keen interest in business, and I've always been interested in helping others. And so I decided that what kind of work was it, what was out there that allowed me to help others and be actively involved in business. And that became the world of wealth management, financial planning, and really helping people with their wealth and their businesses. And that's where I am today.
Wow, Rocco, what a terrific story. And as you're sharing that, I'm going back in time. I'm imagining you growing up and you're seeing your father as a tailor and he's helping the business people in the community. He's conversing with them, all different kinds of people passing through the shop. So I'm curious, how did that impact you? Because you saw both sides of the equation there and what your father was doing, the people, what they were doing on the business side. In terms of the big picture, how you looked at the world, what did you learn from that?
The way it impacted my life is that I sat at the desk there and I listened to people tell my father confidential things, personal things. And you knew the importance of business relationship. And he was really terrific at developing relationships with his customers. And he threw intimate stories, and people would tell him all kinds of things. And he worked with some real notable people, high level, successful political people, high level business professionals, doctors, lawyers, all kinds of different people that would typically wear suits. So the idea of developing relationships with people and obviously keeping things if somebody tells you something that's confidential, being able to keep that strictly confidential. And he was really terrific at that.
Wow. So you really had the best of both worlds that was going on there. And so as you're now going into your own journey, whether it was growing up or some experiences after that, I mean, was there any one moment in time or particular experience that really shaped what you want to do and where you're going to go?
As a kid, I'd be in this tailor shop, right? And I'd see all this equipment from machines that press the clothes to sewing machines and all kinds of machines. And I always wanted to use the equipment. And my father said, listen, you sit at the desk, you learn how to do math and learn how to read. I don't want you to use the equipment. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to do something that's not using my hands, like the tailor work. And that was a profound point in my life where I said, okay, I'm probably going to be in the world of professional services or something. And that was it. I like to use this analogy, and I say this with all due respect. Have you ever walked into a Chinese food restaurant and you see the kid behind the counter doing their homework?
Mm-hmm.
And we've all seen that image, right? And I was like the Italian kid in the tailor shop, sitting at the desk and doing the homework in the tailor shop. That was a major point in my life. And I learned a lot by being there.
Terrific. And so now we fast forward to today. And really, you're out there, you're a thought leader. You have your own experience. You've done a lot in the business world, particularly around wealth advising. And so you came up with a book. And for our listeners, in the show notes, there's a link, Three Chords Approach to Life and Wealth Management for Business Owners. So for starters, what's the story behind the story with the title of the book, The Three Chords Approach? What's going on with that, Rocco?
So the concept behind the three chords came about as a result of thinking about what were the three most important pressing issues that our clients faced. And it always tied in with the three same things. It was their family. Their families were very important to them. Their businesses were very important to them. And then there was themselves as an individual, which they tend to have neglected, right? They put their business first, they put their family first. And a lot of times these hard charging business owners tend to put themselves last. And so the concept of the three chords was that each of those three areas, one is not more important than the other. All are really important. And if all three didn't work well together, basically tie together, something was going to snap. But if you took all three of those chords and those concepts and you tie them together, the rope becomes really not breakable.
And in the book, and again, for listeners, go to the show notes, click on the link. It is definitely a book to have in your library, in your success library. What I like, Rocco, you started off with happiness. That's the forward. That's the very first part. And what was nice about that, oftentimes we tend to overlook that. And the means to the end becomes the end itself, as opposed to really taking a step back. And so let me ask you this. When you're working with different CEOs, entrepreneurs, founders, is there the 80-20 principle, Pareto's law, where 20% of the same issues keep on cropping up again and again that are causing 80% of the so-called problems that we're all grappling with? Are you seeing some trends or patterns there that you can share with us?
I would say yes. Some of the trends are, number one, the business owner neglects themselves physically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they burn themselves out, they mentally, physically, and hard charging, and try to get people to think, not selfishly, but we try to have the business owner people think about themselves as it relates to their overall vision and plan for the
Sure.
long term. That's something that we see. Number two is that their families are really important to them. However, they don't really do a successful job in teaching their family how they actually made the money. They kind of feel that they don't want their family to go through the same struggles that got them to where they got to. But really, they're doing their family a disadvantage. And the way I'd like to relate it is that, let's say if you're Phil Mickelson, great golfer, would Phil Mickelson's kids rather get his golf clubs or his golf swing? And I think that most people will say they'd rather have the golf swing than the golf clubs. So what we try to do is we try to teach clients the importance of teaching their children how to accumulate wealth, how to manage wealth, how to handle the wealth, as opposed to just giving it to them, right? Because if you just give it to them, more times than not, they just squander it.
Sure. And I know many a business owner who have been on both sides, not having money. It's an area that I think we all struggle with. And I would say probably the success rate is a lot lower than what it should be. And we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole here. But before we go into the other areas, what would you say to those listening in right now who thankfully they're successful now financially, they have their independence or they're well on their way to it, and their family will be the benefactors of that? How should they go about that? Because we hear the old stories. Well, when I was your age, I went through -10 weather and it was a really big mountain of snow, barefoot going to school, and on the stories go. I mean, how do we approach that with our kids, with our family today?
I think a lot of times people don't basically tell the stories, but I think they need to tell the story in a positive sense. And so not use it like in a talking to their family like in a resentful way where they're saying, well, you're getting it too easy. And when I had to do it, I had to do it like this. It comes across negative, but really sharing these stories in a positive way and sharing the fact the reason why I'm telling this to you is not to impress you, but to impress upon you. And some people choose to kind of jot it down in the journal. Other people choose to kind of verbally communicate it, but really important to share those stories with others, because if you don't share those stories with others, they'll never know.
It's a fair point. And again, it's not the focus per se of this episode, but while we're on that, I mean, what have you seen that has really worked for people in terms of, well, how do you share the stories? What does that look like?
I've seen it a couple ways. I've seen people really create a lesson journal where they take basically a regular notebook, they write stories and they write information and they write tips and tools and strategies in that book, and they give it as a gift, right? So whether it's a graduation gift at some point, and they say, here's, I wrote some things down and I want you to have them. And I've seen it done that way. I've also seen it done in an organized way where families have almost like quarterly offsites and they have conversations around particular topics, really done like in an agenda format. And that's been effective too. Or I've seen it done where they do one-on-ones, like a one-on-one special trip with a family member. And those types of conversations come up in it. But you got to communicate, got to share those stories, really important.
Absolutely. And as you're speaking about that, actually, I'm going down memory lane, Rocco, where in my family, as an example, I'm thinking of my grandfather before he had passed away. He began that process. It started off as a letter. I said, hey, Grandpa, for your upcoming birthday, you're reaching a milestone in life. Why don't you write a letter to the family of your thoughts, looking back at your life, lessons learned? And Rocco, I got to tell you, not only did that give him joy and fulfillment, that letter later turned into a book. And later on, while he was doing that, it gave him a new sense of purpose and fulfillment. And sadly, he passed away a short while later. But the gift, the legacy that he's able to leave the family in the form of a book, because it was published while he was still living, and the pride and joy as he was handing it out to friends and family in his community and his network, we still have that today for the next generation and the ones beyond that. So it's some terrific advice on that. And it's a great takeaway for our listeners. So Rocco, I want to go back to your book because there's so much wisdom that you've distilled in there. And when we go to the first chord, which is us, you're talking about in chapters 1, 2, and 3. Okay, what's next in life, to your health, and then from there you're rounding things out with balancing life and work. So as we look at that, and again, a bit of a tough question here, forcing you to take those 3 chapters and put it into a few words. What would be some of the insights or the wisdom that you want us to walk away with, or at least become curious about with the first chord?
I would say that the first chord is really all about yourself in a way that you're thinking about basically 7 different areas, right? You can think about what are the hobbies and interests that tie in with your life and your own well-being, your body, your food intake, your exercise. Do you see doctors? Do you have a purpose? Are you thinking about a legacy? Things that really what you want to do for yourself. Again, the business owner typically puts themselves last. This has been my experience, but we're asking people to kind of put themselves first, at least for the period of defining what is it that you really want for yourself, right?
Mhm.
And so that's really what the first part of the book about is helping people define what they want for themselves as an individual.
And let me ask you something. Going back to chapter 3, you're talking about balancing life and work. And I know, particularly if there's a population set, it's entrepreneurs, founders, business owners, that can tend to be a struggle because we tend to really lean in one direction more than the other. And we can be more out of balance and in balance based on your own experience, your journey, working with your clients. How do we do that? How do we have that balance, or as I like to say, that blend in life of both the personal and the work?
Well, I think the important thing for listeners to recognize is that there's no perfect balance, but what you should do is you should use a model calendar to kind of you think about what are the most important things in life. So let's just talk about a calendar for a second, how people create this balance. Usually for most business people, if there's something on the calendar, they usually will show up, right? Whether it's a meeting, whatever it may be. And we tend to only put the important business things on the calendar. But if you put on there the personal things, whether going to making sure that you're off from your business when your kids are off from school, or there's an important birthday or milestone, or whatever it may be, if it's on the calendar, we know that there's an 80+% chance that you're going to show up there. So the way that you're going to get the balance is to schedule it. And if you don't schedule it, it's likely not to get done. So if you said, yeah, date night is a really great thing for me to do with my wife, and I'm going to do it once a month. And then I ask you the follow-up question, well, when? And you're like, well, I don't know. Whenever I have time, you're going to skip month after month. So even myself, right? So the things that I have on the calendar set with my wife, we do. Things that we talk about that we'd like to do, but it's not on the calendar, we don't. So simple tool for yourself, whether it's scheduling to go see doctors, scheduling time with your family, obviously scheduling time to grow your business, all really important things. So calendar management is really important if you want to have balance.
And as you're talking about that, really what you're reminding me of, Rocco, is that old saying, what gets measured is what gets done. But in this case, what gets in the calendar is what gets done. And we have the opportunity of really another analogy. You have that glass jar and you have all this sand and these big boulders and rocks and the little pebbles. You put the big boulders and rocks in first to make sure that gets done. So a terrific strategy and takeaway. And so we really looked at, okay, what do I want for myself? Chord one. So second chord, we're now talking about us in the business. And what I liked right up front for the second chord, you talk about something that's near and dear to us here at Deep Wealth. You talk about the exoplan that really most business owners, it's an afterthought for them. They'll plan more time on a vacation or perhaps going away on some kind of retreat than they will on the exoplan, which could be for the rest of their lives, which is the irony in that. So why don't we start there? So what's going on as business owners? We look at the exoplan. What do you want us to know? What's the message here?
The message here is number one, as business owners, you tend to pay everybody and everything first. And a lot of times business owners may not pay themselves or be thinking about the underlying equity within their business or thinking about an exit strategy or creating a saleable business or creating a self-running business. Most business owners are just trying to get through the day. And so what we're trying to communicate to business owners is that they really need to be thinking of it as creating something that is a real asset that could be sold to somebody else. And you need to develop a strategy around it. You need to know how your accounting has to be, what's important in your industry to a potential buyer. And so that's what the next part about is really either positioning your business for sale to somebody else or positioning your business to transfer to somebody else. You just don't want something you spend 30 and 40 years building, just shut the door and letting it die. It's going to get moved over. It's going to get sold or something else is going to happen with it.
And what I like about that, as you're thinking about that, as you're planning that out, I actually want to go back to the first core that we were talking about earlier. It really helps put the business and the whole plan in perspective. Okay, this is not a sprint. It's a marathon. Rocco, in your example, you're saying, well, it's going to be a 30-year journey for me. And I really feel that helps to crystallize the first chord. What really resonated with me is in your book, you're saying, family for me, that's got to come first. And you can correct me if I'm off base here. There's a story that you shared where you could have gone to a business conference, met one of the presidents. I think it was Bush, and you didn't do that because the next day it was your daughter's birthday. And as you're thinking about that, you said, okay, I can go do this, and that's great. And perhaps some other things can come out of it. But you know what? Family first. And it made it very easy for you. So as you have that interplay between the different chords at a very personal level, perhaps you can share with our listeners how the chords have really made what would seemingly be a tougher decision really an easy one.
I think it ties in with values, right? So everybody has values. We all have five important values. Say, well, how do people know that? Whether you write down the values or not, you can tell what people's values are based upon the decisions that they make. For me, my five important family values are family, helping others, respect, generosity, and personal growth.
Mhm.
All decisions in my life tie in with those five different values. So, as much as I would have liked to have had breakfast and met President George Bush, the idea of family came first. So it's like, do you go home for your daughter's 16th birthday or do you meet the President of the United States? And
Mhm.
it was like, okay, well, the decision becomes very easy that I'm going home for my daughter's birthday because that is more important. As much as I would have liked to met the president, it just basically, yeah, the decision became easy. There was not even a chance that I wasn't going to not do that. And so for listeners, this chord that we talk about with family does tie in with your values. And if you're clear on your values and family, if family is one of your top five values and you've defined that, you understand that, your decisions become easier, right? Do I pick up the next $1 million client or do I go to my daughter's regatta or my son's golf tournament or whatever it may be?
Absolutely. And it's a perfect segue to the third chord, which is all about family. And not just us as we think about it as our immediate family, but you also touch upon legacy and estate planning. And again, sadly, we talk a lot about this in the 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery program, where we have people do this. They bring in the right advisors at the right time to do this well ahead of when it's needed so that when you do need it, it's there, it's done, you've thought through it. But as we look to the third chord, again, I'm going to ask you, what are some popular themes of what you're seeing of what really works well that you encourage your clients to keep on doing? And the flip side of that, hey, this just isn't working. Let's change our mindset or let's change our actions or how we're approaching this. Can you share both sides of that with us?
Well, when you're thinking about legacy planning, estate planning, all that work has to be done up front. You can't do it after the fact, unfortunately. And you got to take time to do it. And most people know that they probably need to do something. They just don't know what they need to do. That's why it's important in the area of business to align yourself with the right professional, the right wealth manager, the right estate planning attorney, the right tax advisor, the right risk management person, the right banker. And so the estate planning piece is a really important piece because those documents are the blueprint as to what will happen after you pass away or if you're not able to act. Really important topic. I can't tell you how many people we sit with that don't have an estate plan, but some of those people, it's late in life. They just got lucky that they never needed to act beforehand. Some people don't get that benefit. Use the celebrity singer Prince, right? Prince had no estate planning documents. Prince was very wealthy. Everybody knows the musical singer Prince. And Prince was a very private person. And if by not having trust documents and all these different things in place, Prince's full estate became public information. And everybody knows that Prince probably wouldn't have liked that. It's too late. Can't go back and do an estate plan after the fact. That answer that question?
Well, absolutely. And it gives a lot to think about. And while we're talking about this, Rocco, actually, just the other day, I was speaking with a business owner who was sharing the story of how one of the principals, one of the founders in the business, suddenly and unexpectedly passed away. And so we talk about the exit. Oftentimes, you don't think about the final exit. I mean, who wants to think about that? But it happens to all of us. It's just a matter of when, not if. And to your point, when we're prepared, if we don't want to do it for ourselves, do it for our family, for our loved ones, for the people in the business. Will save them a whole lot of heartache, time, and trouble when we can plan this out and have the time to think about it with the right professionals around us. And so, Rocco, speaking of this, because you've been there really as that advisor, and you've been there for the business owners and the entrepreneurs and helping them set all this up. What do we look for in finding whether it be an estate planner or someone like yourself who was doing the wealth advising? What are some of the questions? What are some of the red flags? What would you want us to know?
There's a lot of people that are out there in the world of wealth management. And while there are some amazingly talented people in the area of wealth management, there's also some people that are not good. And I think that people need to do their own due diligence and talk to other people and see whether that they were also happy. Talk to other professionals that may have worked with those other people and kind of see whether they were happy. You got to do your own due diligence and structure your team, because if you choose the wrong professional, you could end up with kind of a mess, whether it's the asset manager, wealth manager, whether it's the tax advisor or the estate planning attorney. And you've got to take personal responsibility in understanding what the people are doing for you. But a lot of times the wealth advisor is the quarterback, the person who kind of coordinates everything. You
Mm-hmm.
want to choose a wealth advisor that has the ability to work with other people and network with them and that has done this before. And so that's one of the things I would tell listeners, to make sure that they have an effective team, that that team, whether they've worked together before or they have the ability to work with other people, super important because you want everybody on the same page.
Rocco, as you're talking about that, is really a page out of our Deep Wealth Mastery program. Step 6, when we talk about the advisory team, that's exactly what we're saying. We're saying one and the same thing. Hey, we all get those cold calls or those cold emails, and the person may be terrific, but you just don't know. And there's too much at stake. So go within your network, ask the people around you, and you can share if you're on base or off base with what I'm going to say next. What we really like here at Deep Wealth about the network referrals, if someone's referring you to someone either that they've worked with or they know, that advisor, in this case, it could be a wealth advisor, isn't just working with you. It's not just you, it's really the entire network. Because if they drop the ball with you, word's going to get back. And because their business is likely a referral business, there's a lot at stake. So they're going to go above and beyond to make sure, hey, Jeffrey's happy because Susie recommended me and Susie is terrific and sends me a lot of business. I want to keep everyone happy. Thoughts about that?
Yeah, recommendation is usually the best way to find outside professionals, but you also want to kind of, and I tell this to my team, there's three components in selecting a professional,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I tell the advisors on my team, there's three components. And here are the three components. Number one is that, are you likable, right? Does the client actually like you? Do they want to work with you? Do they feel that you have their back? Number two is, aside from likability, is do they unequivocally trust you? Do they completely trust you? And the third component is, do they believe that you have the ability to execute? And have you demonstrated execution before? So,
Mm-hmm.
three really important pieces. Do you like the person? Do you trust the person? And do you believe and have you witnessed that they have the ability to execute? Three really important areas.
Absolutely. And it's a nice insight on what it's like on the advisor side of what they're striving for and what we should want on our side in terms of that chemistry. One of the questions that we ask our participants in the community going through the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, imagine you're with this advisor. You haven't hired them yet, but you're thinking about hiring them. You're going to be going on some kind of a business trip. The plane breaks down and you're stuck on the tarmac. The pilot comes on. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be stuck here for the next 9 hours. We can't go back to the gate. And now you're on the plane. After the first 5 minutes, you're sitting next to that person. Are you crawling out of your skin? Oh my God, get me out of here. I can't take this. Or does the time really fly by? Oh, that wasn't so bad. Wouldn't have wanted it to happen that way, but I didn't mind speaking to so and so. You're absolutely right with the chemistry being front and center in terms of what you're looking for. And then, Rocco, I want to circle back to the third chord because you talk about the income that we're going to be having once we're retired. And then once we get on and up there in terms of, well, our health and how the cost may change because of what it's going to cost to take care of ourselves. Perhaps some issues are going to be coming up. What are some of the biggest surprises in terms of what you're calling the elder care income and the health that comes up? What would you want our listeners to know that they're probably not even thinking about?
Yeah, this is really an important topic. Some people are under the belief that they should transfer all the assets out of their name and that the state will take care of them. And while that may work if structured properly, the person, meaning yourself that transferred all your wealth, may not be happy with the care that you'd be getting as a result of making yourself destitute. So you got to be careful with that. Again, for clients that are older, I've seen private care nursing, and I've also seen care that is not at the highest level of private care, and it's not the same. I can tell you it's not the same. I was at a client's house. They filed for Medicaid, and they had lots of assets that they had transferred out of their name years before. And I saw the hospital bed that they wheeled in, and it was this little thin mattress. And I'm saying to myself, this isn't good. This person should be getting the very best bed possible, not this bed that they're wheeling in. And so people have to be really careful as they're getting older to make sure that they're going to be taken care of. The idea is that you earn that money. If you need to spend that money, you spend that money for yourself, for your own care. That's just my personal belief. And it drives me crazy when I see clients not receive the proper care because they've transferred all their assets out of their name. And maybe their family members are being cheap with what they should be providing mom or dad. And so, that's wrong. So again, important for listeners, as you're doing your own estate planning, you just want to make sure that you've got everything structured the way that you want it structured, especially if you're the wealth creator. Because if you're the wealth creator, you probably become accustomed to a particular lifestyle, and you want to make sure that you continue to get that lifestyle even when you're late in your years as well.
And Rocco, as you talk about that, it's just a terrific reminder of why we should really surround ourselves with the absolute best advisors. This is not something we want to do on our own, or a friend of a friend told me this, so I'm going to go along in this way. It's really finding someone who has the experience and has these insights, because Rocco, I'm sure that this is one of many examples that you can share with us of what not to do, because here's what could happen that we never would have thought of otherwise. So it's a terrific takeaway for our listeners. And Rocco, speaking of takeaways, as we begin to bump up against some time here, we're going to be going into wrap up mode. But before we do that, I'm wondering, is there a topic or a message that you'd like to get out to the community, something that you want them to think about that we haven't yet covered?
I would say creating a financial plan, actually creating a written, documented financial plan that looks at all of the important areas, which would be their cash flow, their risk management, their taxes, their estate planning, their investments. So looking at all of those different areas.
It's a terrific takeaway. And for our listeners, you're probably not thinking about this, but here's someone who's doing this day in, day out, who is thinking about this. It's some terrific advice. And speaking of advice, Rocco, it's a terrific segue for our wrap up question. It's a tradition, it's an honor here on the Deep Wealth podcast, where I have the privilege of asking every guest the same question. So let me set this up for you. It's a fun one. When you think of the movie Back to the Future, you have that fabulous DeLorean car that will take you to any point in time. So, Rocco, I want you to imagine it's tomorrow morning. You look outside your window. Not only is the DeLorean car there, the door is open, it's waiting for you to hop on in, what you do, and you're now going to go to any point in your life. Rocco, as a young child, a teenager, whatever point in time you would choose, what are you telling your younger self in terms of life wisdom or life lessons? Or, hey, Rocco, do this, but don't do that. What would that sound like?
If I could take myself back to probably in my high school years, just to have been more aware of being prepared for, I would say, my late teens, early 20s, and really going through like a clarification exercise of really what I wanted more for myself. So getting an early start on it, I would say.
And so, how would that sound exactly to your younger self in terms of clarifying what you want, which I think is a terrific insight? How would you say that to you back in the day?
I would say that there's a lot of different things. So, did I really know myself? Did I know myself and knew what my key strengths were, and paying attention to it, and then doing things at that age that were aligned with my strengths? I didn't kind of figure that out until my mid to late 20s. So learning that a little bit earlier, or understanding my unique abilities at a younger age, I think would have been beneficial to me. It would have been beneficial to me in my late teens and my early 20s for sure. And I think that just would have helped me later on in life as well.
Yeah, it's terrific advice. So really what I'm hearing you say is know yourself. And once you know yourself, align yourself with areas that play to your unique abilities, to your strengths.
Yeah, there's nothing like working within your unique ability. We all love doing things that are within our unique ability for sure.
Rocco, as you say that, it really resonates deeply with me, because from my side, here's my belief. And you can say, Jeffrey, you're so far off base, or yeah, there's something to that. I believe every person comes here with a unique talent set, some superpowers, but we don't know what they are. And it's not only our mission, it's our duty to find out what that is. And once we know what that is, to take it to the world. And what you're saying for me really resonates and lines up nicely with that.
That's so true. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Jeffrey.
And so, Rocco, let me ask you this. Someone who's listening wants to learn more, they have some questions, and I know you also do speaking. Maybe they even want to bring you in to give a talk or to really elevate the organization, help them take it to the next level. Where's the best place online for someone to reach you?
They can go to my website, which is roccoacarrero.com. So ROCCO, middle initial A, last name CARRIERO.com.
Terrific. And for our listeners, it's all in the show notes. It's a point and click. It doesn't get any easier. Well, Rocco, it's official. This is a wrap. Congratulations. Absolutely loved it. And as we say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
So there you have it, Deep Wealth Nation. What did you think? So with all that said, and as we wrap it up, I have another question for you. Actually, it's more of a personal favor. Did you find this episode helpful? Have you found other episodes of the Deep Wealth Podcast empowering and a game changer for your journey? And if you said yes, and I really hope you did, I have a small but really meaningful way that you can actually help us out and keep these episodes coming to you. Are you ready for it? The dramatic pause. I'll just wait a moment. Drum roll, please. Subscribe. Please subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast on your favorite podcast channel. When you subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast, you're saving yourself time. Every episode automatically comes to you. And I want you to know that we meticulously craft every one of our episodes to have impactful strategies, stories, expert insights that are designed to help you grow your profits, increase the value of your business, and yes, even optimize your post-exit life and your life right now, whatever you want that to look like. And every time you subscribe and a fellow entrepreneur subscribes, it's a testament to how together, yes, we are changing the social fabric of society. One business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. So don't let the momentum stop here. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast channel. You'll never miss an episode. You'll be the first to hear from the top industry leaders, the innovators, the disruptors that are really changing and shaping the business world. And maybe you're commuting, maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're taking a well-deserved break that we spoke all about on this episode. The Deep Wealth Podcast, it's your reliable source for the next big idea that could literally revolutionize your business. So once again, please hit that subscribe button, stay connected, inspired, and ahead of the curve. And again, your next big breakthrough moment, it might just be one episode away. Maybe it was even this episode. So all that said, thank you so much for listening. And remember, your wealth isn't just about the money in the bank. It's about the depth of your journey and the impact that you're creating. So let's continue this journey together. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much. God bless.